from the lectionary is from the book of Proverbs about the call to wisdom. Wisdom cries out in the streets. In the squares she raises her voice. At the busiest corner she cries out. At the entrance of the city gate she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? Give heed to my reproof. I will pour out my thoughts to you. I will make my words known to you, because I have called, and you refused, have stretched out my hand, and no one healed, and because you have ignored my counsel, and would have none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when panic strikes you, when panic strikes you like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. Then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me, because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, and would have none of my counsel, and despise all my reproof. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their way, and be sated with their own devices. For waywardness kills the simple, and complacency of fools destroy them. But those who listen to me will be secure, and will live at ease without dread of disaster. Our second reading for the lectionary is from James, which talks about two kinds of wisdom and friendship with the world. Who is wise and understanding among you? Show by your good life that your works are done with gentleness, born of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not be boastful and false to the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, devilish. For where there is envy and selfish ambition, there also will be disorder and wickedness of every kind. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy. And the harvest of the righteous is sown in peace for those who make peace. Those conflicts and disputes among you, where do they come from? Do they come from your cravings that are at war within you? You want something and do not have it, so you commit murder, and you covet something you cannot obtain, so you engage in disputes and conflicts. You do not have because you have not asked. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly, in order to spend what you get on your own pleasures. Submit yourself therefore to God. Resist the devil, and evil will flee from you. Draw near to God, and God will draw near to you. And then a reading from the Gospel according to Mark, Peter's declaration and our understanding of greatness. Jesus went on with his disciples to the village of Caesarea Philippi. And on the way he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" And they answered him, "John the Baptist, and others Elijah, and still others one of the prophets." He asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter answered him, "You are the Messiah." And he sternly ordered them not to tell anyone. Then they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, "What are you arguing about on the way?" But they were silent, for on the way they had argued with one another about who was the greatest. He sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all." Then he took a little child and put it among them, and taking it in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes not me, but the one who sent me." May God bless to us reading and hearing of this holy word. Thanks be to God. May God empower the word in us. I like the fact that the table's here. I get to put my notes out here, and I don't have to hold them. There's always a sermon in my head that I write, but I can't ever guarantee that the sermon that is in my head is the sermon that will come out on any particular given day. So I always invite the Holy Spirit to be among me and with us. When I was looking at the scriptures for this day, I think I titled my sermon, let's see what I titled my sermon. Tribalism. Who are we really following? One of the churches that I first served was in a small community that was very multicultural and very multiracial. And I remember one particular time, one woman came to me and said, I would like to join the church. And so I'm like, great, and I did some work with her about joining the church. We talked about it, we decided which day that she was going to join the church. And on that particular day, when I called her forward, her entire family came with her. And I was like, looking at the altar, and I had one membership certificate on the altar. And I'm thinking, I know she said she wanted to join the church. What I forgot, this was a family who was from Nigeria. And what I forgot is that they function as a tribe. And so when she said, I want to join the church, she was speaking on behalf of her entire family. She was the matriarch. She made the decision, and they all joined. And so she kind of saw my expression when I realized that I was not prepared for what had just happened. And she just kind of laughed and said, it's okay. And really, it makes sense, because we do function as a tribe. That is very much a part of the history of the beginning of the people. They function as a tribe. They traveled as a tribe. We know the 12 tribes historically. And so they function as this unit. And in the early church, when people joined, the matriarch or the patriarch, oftentimes it was the matriarch, because I know guys, but sometimes women really do make the decisions. The matriarch or the patriarch would decide for the community or their family who was going to join and when they were going to be baptized. And so when we look at our faith, we look at it in relationship to the fact that this is how people always function. And I remember growing up in a very German ENR church that I was a part of this generation that was trying to do this melting pot thing. And my elders were talking about the fact that you don't need to know your history. You just need to know who you are now. Because my family spoke both German and Italian. And I remember my dad saying to his grandmother, who spoke fluently German and Italian, you know, he just wanted to learn. He wanted to know. And she said, you don't need to know. You just need to know that you're an American. And I think what has happened to us as people of faith is we have forgotten who we are. And we have forgotten who we belong to. And we have forgotten that history. And so as that history we began to change and as we began to be this melting pot, we forgot that we redefined what a tribe truly is. We became a part of a community, we became a part of a church that then defines for us who we are. The church is a living organism, and it moves and grows and changes as the community gathers together and changes. But what we have to stay away from is if that defines us in such a way that we lose our identity as people of faith. And so tribalism is not a bad thing. It is who we are. It's how we have been defined for years. And so we come to this new place that we call the church and we declare ourselves to be Christian. And we then become this tribe of people of faith. And so we need to pay attention to then, therefore, who do we follow? Now, our first reading, we encounter wisdom. And in the biblical literature, wisdom is referred to as female. Not my interpretation, but it is the interpretation. Wisdom is female. And wisdom says to us this morning, she cries out in the streets, in the squares, she raises her voice. At the busiest corner, she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates, she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will you scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? Give heed to what I am saying. Wisdom invites us to think about what we really want to know about who we are. Wisdom invites us, and it says she's crying out to us. Why don't you want to have knowledge? Why don't we want to have knowledge about who we are? My father wanted that knowledge. He wanted to know, where did we come from? How did we get here? How can I carry on a tradition if I don't know it? We think knowledge is a bad thing. But knowledge is wisdom. And when we have knowledge, we own what we believe. How is it that we get ourselves in such a place where wisdom is knocking at the door, saying, let me in? You need to know, you need to own what you believe, and in order to own what you believe, you need to know. You need to know. We have, in many ways, have defined this God, defined this Jesus that we say we profess and claim. Not according to the knowledge of our holy books, but according to the knowledge of what we want Jesus to be. And when Jesus asked Peter, who do you say that I am? I know what people are saying about me. I know what's happening in the streets. I know what people are saying, but I don't care what they say. I care about who you say that I am. You have been with me. I have taught you. You have traveled with me. By now you should know who I am. And Peter says, you are the Messiah, the Holy One from God. And Jesus, not sure that you still know, because you're wanting me to be the Messiah that you want, and not the one that I am. And Peter and Jesus get in an argument, and Jesus eventually says to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan, because you are setting your things on earthly things and not on heavenly things." So they created Jesus in their image because they didn't want to know, they didn't want to hold on to that knowledge, that wisdom that he had taught them, because he had taught them that when I travel down this road, when I challenge the powers that be, when I challenge the empire that is oppressing us, I will die. I will die because I know that they don't want to be a part of this knowledge and wisdom that is coming from God. And we know that there are times in which Peter says, "Trust me, I will never deny you. I will always follow you." And we know that when Peter had the opportunity to deny Jesus, he was first in line. I don't know who that man is. So we get caught up, as they get caught up, into creating this image of Jesus, and an image that makes them feel comfortable, and an image that makes them create Jesus to do what they want Jesus to do. We set our mind on earthly things, and we allow our tribe then to follow that earthly understanding of Jesus, no matter where it takes us. And we forget that Jesus says, "This is the road I'm going to travel. You can either travel down this road with me, or you can travel another road, but this is the road I'm going down. I'm going to travel and challenge and do the work that God has asked me to do, even if it leads me to death." And then we encounter the scriptures this morning in Mark where they're arguing about who is greatest. Because, well, they wanted to be great, not in the eyes of Jesus, but, hey, I'm hanging out with Jesus. And I want people to know that we're buds. And I want people to know that this is who Jesus is. And when Jesus asked, "What are you arguing about?" they were a little bit shocked. Well, we're arguing about who's the greatest. And Jesus says, the last will be first. And if you want to be a part of this greatness that you think you want to be a part of, pick up your cross and follow me. Jesus encounters us on the road and engages us and invites us to understand who he truly is. Not the Jesus that we want him to be, but the Jesus who he truly is. And that Jesus who truly is this person that we follow is a Jesus of justice, and a Jesus of mercy, and a Jesus of grace, and a Jesus of love. And we cannot say we love Jesus and hate our neighbor. We cannot say we love Jesus, but when you challenge me the injustice that's happening in the world or in my community, I don't really want to go there because it makes me feel uncomfortable. Jesus should make us feel uncomfortable. He is the radical difference that is lacking in our society today. He was not afraid to challenge the things that were wrong in his community. And trust me, he lived in a time where people were oppressed on a daily basis, and he was one of them. And he was willing to stand up and say, this is not going to happen. He was willing to engage people where they were, but would challenge them to do something more. And we know that people were flocking to Jesus because they knew there was something different. But mostly they wanted Jesus to heal them. And he never turned anybody down. He tried to, as I talked to you a couple weeks ago, he tried to turn down the Syrophoenician woman, but she said no. He never turned anybody down. And I think when he said to them, your faith has made you well, your faith in me should change who you are and change what direction you're going. We know that many people who were healed by Jesus did actually understand who he was, because they approached him in such a way that they clearly knew that he understood what was happening to them. He understood what was going on in the time in which they were living. He understood their challenges, their fears. He understood their struggles. And as the early church began to evolve, they carried with them this message of Jesus. Knowing that it was not safe to proclaim him. Knowing that they could lose their life proclaiming him. Knowing that they could be crucified just like he was. They weren't afraid to approach the world with that faith and understanding of this Jesus who had brought them this message of hope, this message of change. Wisdom says to us, if we travel down this road other than the road that we should be traveling, we're going to end up in conflict and arguments and wars and violence and discord. If we travel down this road, that's what's going to happen. But if we travel down the road of Jesus, we understand who Jesus was. Jesus was about making peace, bringing people hope, bringing the message of faith. So when Jesus asked Peter, who do you say that I am? I think it's a valid question for Jesus to ask us. Who do you say that I am? What Jesus have we created in our midst? I must confess that there are times in which I listen to things that are going on, and I listen to people who are professing a Christian understanding and having this faith in Jesus, and I think to myself, what Jesus are they praising? What Bible are they reading? Because that's not the Jesus that I know. This Jesus that I know does not exclude people. This Jesus that I know does not say to somebody, you're not worthy. This Jesus that I know says to us and says to us in our biblical text, take care of the poor, the widowed, and the orphan. That is the Jesus that I know. And that's the Jesus that the church needs to be proclaiming. We go out in the streets and in our wisdom and knowledge that we have of our faith, we go out in the streets and we change the way in which people see not only the church but sees Jesus. Because if Jesus is in my heart, and Jesus is in our hearts, then people, when they encounter us, should see Jesus in our faith, should see Jesus in our actions, and should see Jesus in how we treat them. Wisdom has called our name. Jesus has asked us, "Who do you say that I am?" What knowledge are we going to hold on to? What things do we need to let go of so that people understand that Jesus that I know, the Jesus that I proclaim, is the one who brought peace and love and justice and mercy and understanding to a hurting world. May all that we do always be the glory and praise of our God.